Alaikum everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Niqabi Faz. If you are new here, please remember to like and subscribe if you find this content interesting. So it has definitely been a minute since I have done one of these sit-down vlogs. So today I wanted to have a bit of a chat, and it was based on something that I read actually in the month of Ramadan. And it's centered around something that I think is so important for every single person, and that is the quality of your time. Now, all of us know that, our time is limited. It's like an hourglass. We get a set amount of sand in the hourglass, and when your time is up, your time is up, right? But ultimately, we want to be sure that we're utilizing the time that we have to the best of our abilities. And that is very easy to say. It's very easy to write in a book. It's very easy to say those things in, these big grand speeches or these YouTube videos. But to actualize that in real life is actually very difficult. And that's just because there are so many distractions in this world. So what I wanted to share with you was what I encountered in one of the books that I read during the month of Ramadan. It was really just about productivity. So of course, if you look on YouTube, you can find a myriad of videos on productivity, how to be more productive, how to maximize your time, how to make sure you have more output, and all of those. And those things are great because they're techniques, but ultimately techniques are the mechanisms that you use, right? It's not the mentality that you have. And ultimately what separates somebody that wastes time versus somebody that uses their time in a productive way is their mental state. And so what I wanted to do is use the example of some of the scholars of the past. So this is what I read. If you look at Imam Shafi, you look at Imam Malik, you look at Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, I'm looking at the four Imams. If you look at Imam Abu Hanifa, if you look at just the sheer amount of output that they had in their life, they wrote treatises upon treatises, they wrote books, they compiled hadiths, right? Like Imam Ahmad, a compilation of hadiths that spans over 30,000. That says something about just how they looked at time and just the sheer amount of output that they have, because they understood what their purpose was. And obviously we all know our main and core purpose is to worship and serve our Creator, right? That's the main and core purpose, and everything else is like an addendum to that core purpose. And the reality is that they understood that. Now we look at our own lives, right? We look at Imam Ahmad at my age, or we look at Imam Shafi at my age, or we look at Ibn Taymiyyah at my age. Where were they at my age, and what was their productive output versus my productive output? Now, I have written a lot, right? I certainly have written a lot. Like, for example, if you were to Google me under my name, you'd certainly find a lot of output. But that output, I have to ask, like, that was part of my career and what I did as a communication specialist. But how does that serve my greater purpose? And my greater purpose is just here to serve my Creator. And I think that is the broader question. So for me, for example, I've always wanted to write a book, a really meaningful book, right? I haven't written that book. I haven't gotten to, right? And I just look at my own life and I ask myself, how am I utilizing the knowledge that I've learned, both from a deen perspective and then a secular perspective as well? And how am I maximizing that? How am I taking that to the next level? And how am I utilizing that to better our community, our country, and the world in general? And I think that is the question that I have to ask myself. And I honestly believe that that is the question we should all be asking ourselves. What are we doing with the knowledge that we have? And moreover, what are we doing with the time that we have? How are we measuring our productive output? Now, not all of us can be a scholar. Not all of us can be an Imam Ahmad or an Imam Malik, right? But we can be people that make sure that this life, ultimately this is the place that tests us, right? And how do we step up to that test with the limited time that we have? How do we utilize the skills and the abilities that we have to ultimately be the best version of ourselves as we were intended to be, as we were created to be? And I think that is something that for me is very profound. So for example, even if you look at, like, for example, being a parent or a mother, right? How do you take your productivity level within that context to the next level. So productivity doesn't just have to be about the book that you're writing or the classes that you're giving or the knowledge that you're absorbing. That's very, like, it's very limiting, right? It's the broad spectrum of what your purpose is as a human being. So if you're a parent, right, how am I being the best version that I can possibly be? If you're a student, how am I being the best version that I can possibly be? And I think ultimately that is the question on in terms of productivity. And I think this is really what differentiates the techniques that we have in the model world. And those things are great because those things really do help you. But ultimately, you first have to have your mindset right. If your mindset is right, then you can write hundreds and hundreds of meaningful books, for example, that will greatly impact the world and change mindsets, but because the mindset is right. And I think that's ultimately what we need to focus on when we look at productivity. It's not just about output, it's not about techniques, it's about saying, what is my mindset? And how do I understand the limited time in my hourglass that I have? And how do I take it to the next level? So, yeah, this was something that I read about in the month of Ramadan. Not this whole concept that I've been explaining, but more focused on the aspect of, how people of yonder years utilize their time in a way that was, fundamentally productive. And for me, that was such a poignant reminder that I needed to step up my game for myself. And so I thought I'd share that with all of you, and let me know in the comment section if what do you think about your mindset and productivity and output, and how do you visualize or think about it? Like, I just like to hear your points of view, because for me, I'm certainly in a transition phase where I'm going from having a lot of output as it relates to being career driven to trying to have output as it relates to Dean. And that's not saying in the first aspect there wasn't, it's just saying that there's been a great shift in my life, and so I do necessarily want to make sure that my productivity level speaks to that shift. And yeah, so I thought I'd share that with all of you because I thought it was really profound. And I thought, not what I'm saying, what I read. But I thought it was profound. It's a really good reminder in the era and the time that we're living in, where there is so many distractions. And my intention is to make a few more of these productivity vlogs, just to basically speak about how do we actualize that type of mentality in real life. So now we're talking about the techniques that one can utilize once you have actualized the mentality, right? Look out for the next vlogs on that, and remember to like and subscribe, and shukran jazilan for tuning in. I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.